Hello, friends. Today we are going to dive into the next part of the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansha, the Kalpataru. This particular literature we are reading right now is under the segment of Life of Masters. It is a series which we are progressing through and through which we are going to we are going to explore different phases of the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansha Dev, and later on, when we will finish this particular book, we will dive into other masters and their lives and their path of their path of progression towards the ultimate goal to reach to the Almighty. So let's start. Till now, we have gone through gone through the birth, the divine conspiracy, which I always mention, and it is that everything happens due to the sheer will of the Almighty, and that must be there must be some will or something which actually ultimately decides the path, which actually decides the future and the ultimate journey. Not only future, the ultimate journey. We came across a long path, where we came to know that the Gadadhar, now he is in the transition from his childhood to youth, and in this phase he has already lost his father, and he is now trying to somewhere, knowingly or unknowingly, he is actually mm, giving more priority towards the inner journey rather than the outward journey. So let's start. The ideal of Gadadhar was not literally fulfilled, but he realized Sri Krishna in his very life in the form he wished, as we shall see afterwards, where while enacting female parts he would dress himself accordingly, and his representation was perfect. Often out of fun, he would go in the guise of a girl to the Haldar Pukur, carrying a water jug after the fashion of the country woman. And though he worked with people who had known him since birth, they scarcely recognized him. Sitanath Pine, whose house was close to Khudiram's, had 7 sons and 8 daughters with him at Kamarpukur. Even after their marriage, this family lived in terms of great intimacy with Chandra. Gadadhar spent long hours there reciting stories from the Puranas. Many of the village women, in visiting with the ladies of the house, had the opportunity of hearing these recitations and of enjoying Gadadhar's boyish pranks. A neighbor of Sitanath's, named Durgadas Pine, was a strict advocate of the Parda system. He boasted that no masculine outsider had ever penetrated his woman's quarters. One day, Gadadhar overheard him and told him that by education and devotion to God alone could the chastity of women be preserved, not by confining them within a zenana. Besides, he added, I can easily gain access to yours. Gadadhar challenged the boy to do it. Challenged the boy to do it. All right, we shall see. He replied and went away smiling. One evening Durgadas was chanting with a number of friends was chatting with a number of friends when a poorly dressed woman, her face hidden under a veil and with a basket on her arm, came and stood before them. She introduced herself by saying that she belonged to a weaver family of an adjacent village and had come to the market to sell yarn. Her friends had all gone home, leaving her behind, and as it was impossible for her to return alone at that hour, she prayed that she might be allowed to pass the night in his family. Durgadas asked the woman a few questions and then said, "All right, go inside and speak to the ladies." The woman expressed her gratitude and went inside. The women, finding her young and of great simplicity, invited her to stay the night and gave her something to eat. She seated herself nearby and, while partaking of the refreshments, scrutinized every room in the house, joining now and then in the conversation. Some 3 hours passed in this way. In the meantime, Chandra missed Gadadhar. When some hours elapsed, and he was still absent, she became very anxious and sent Rameshwar in search of him. Rameshwar went first to Sitanath's house, for it was there that the boy spent most of his time. But he was not there. He shouted him elsewhere, calling his name aloud as he went. As he passed Durgada's house, a voice from the women's quarters answered, "I am coming, brother." The women were amazed to find that the stranger was none other than Gadadhar in disguise. Durgadas, thus outwitted, was at first annoyed but later entered into the fun of the situation and congratulated the boy on his success. The ice being thus broken, the ladies of this family too began to frequent Sitanath Pine's house when Gadadhar was there. And when he would fall into trances during the devotional songs, they would worship him, thinking that Krishna or Gauranga was manifesting in that pure body. Later, they presented him with a gold flute and a complete outfit for both male and female parts. The women of the Pine family cherished his memory during their whole lives, and when in 1893 some of the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna paid a visit to Kamarpukur, Rukmini, one of the Sitanath's daughter, then 60 years old, gave the following interesting account of their association with Gadadhar. "You see our house there, a little to the north. It is now in a dilapidated state, and very few members of our family survive. I was then 17 or 18 years of age. Ours was a thriving family. Sitanath Pine was my father, and we were altogether 17 or 18 sisters and cousins, all of about the same age. Gadadhar used to play with us from his very boyhood. We were therefore in terms of close intimacy with him. Even after we had married and come of age, he used to visit our house, and though he had grown up, he had free access to our inner apartments. My father loved him dearly and adored him like his own Ishta. "You have so many girls at home," complained some neighbors to my father, "and Gadadhar is not young. Why do you allow him to visit your family so frequently?" "Don't you worry," my father would reply. "I know Gadadhar too well to think ill of him." Gadadhar used to recite stories for us from the Puranas as we went about our daily household duties. How can I describe the bliss that we enjoyed in his company? If perchance he missed a day, we became extremely restless, thinking that he might be ill. One of us would go to Chandra Devi's on some pretext or other, whilst the others waited at home for news. His every word was a delight to our ears. The days he was unable to be with us, we spent in talking of him. Not only did he make an abiding impression on the women of the village, but he influenced the men also by his amiable character and versatile genius. He often joined them in the evening when they congregated for kirtan or to read passages from the Bhagavata or other holy books. There were several such centers in the village. No one in the village could read as he did or explain so lucidly. His fervor, frequent ecstatic moods, melodious voice, and graceful dancing sent a thrill of joy into the hearts of the villagers, and his merriment and jests were enjoyed by all. Though Gadadhar was restless, buoyant and merry, they were not blind to his wonderful intelligence and deep insight, and he often amazed them with his wisdom. He had the unusual power of seeing everything from a different angle and was often able to solve questions when the wisest among the men of the village were unable to do so. He never hesitated to say exactly what he meant, which made hypocrites shun his company for fear of exposure. There were some few amongst the villagers who were fortunate enough to be able to recognize his great spiritual potentialities and predicted a great future for him, although not the direction in which he would develop. An instance of this kind has already been narrated in connection with Srinivas. It was about this time that the idea seems to have come to him that he was destined to fulfill some great mission in life. He did not know what, though the resolution though the realization of God was to him even then the only purpose worthy of consideration. The monastic life had a strong attraction for him, much as he would have liked to have taken up the begging bowl and renounced everything for the Lord's sake. The thought of the plight of his mother and brothers made him forego his desire. In the struggle between the two ideas, he was powerless to decide and could do nothing but resign himself to the guidance of Raghuveer, fully believing that he would show the way out when the time came. His aversion to school was becoming daily more pronounced, and he would have given it up but for his friends there, especially Gaya Vishnu. But a way to leave school without causing distress to anyone unexpectedly presented itself. An amateur dramatic company was formed in the village, and Gadadhar in was asked to join it and take the chief roles. As he did not have time for both school and study of the various dramatic presentations, he chose the thing that appealed to him and was thus able to give up school with a clear conscience. The mango grove of Manik Raja was the place selected for rehearsals. Gadadhar not only played the chief roles but took upon himself the task of training the other boys. Incidents from the lives of Rama and Sri Krishna were dramatized. From the start, the project was a success. Gadadhar was in his element, and we are told of his frequent trances during the performances. At the time, Gadadhar showed marked talent in painting and clay modeling, though he had had no special training. His powerful concentration and intuitive idealism were great help. He would often surprise professional molders by pointing out inaccuracies in the execution of some delicate part of an image and eyes, for instance, and would direct them how to set them aright. In his ecstatic moods, he saw various divine forms, and these visions, coupled with his artistic faculty, developed his critical faculty and enabled him to produce figures of great beauty. Gadadhar was now 17 years old, and Ramkumar was finding that he could not manage all his duties in Calcutta alone. Besides teaching in toll, he had to conduct the worship in a number of families. This increased his work so much that he felt the need of an assistant. On one of his visits to Kamarpukur, he marked Gadadhar's peculiar indifference towards school, and when he learned that Gadadhar had given up his studies and was roaming the village with his friends and companions, he decided, after hurried consultation with his mother and Rameshwar, to take him to Calcutta, where he might supervise his studies and have his help in his household duties. Gadadhar readily agreed to this proposal, and on an auspicious day he set out for Calcutta with the blessing of Raghuveer and his mother. As he bade farewell to Kamarpukur and all its happy memories, extending over a period of 17 years, his heart was overpowered with grief. The future, with all its undisclosed possibilities, lay before him, and he was making a step forth into the unknown, leaving behind the security of home and the love of all his childhood friends, to say nothing of the aching void in the hearts of the men and women to whom he had come to mean so much. This, in short, is the first of the four great acts in the drama about to unfold itself at Dakshineshwar. To put it differently, it marked, as it were, the first stage of development of a gigantic banyan, the numerous branches of which were destined to afford shelter and comfort to millions of weary travelers in the wilderness of the world. So, my dear friends, we are going to stop here for today. We will come back again on the next Friday, where we shall continue the next part, the bread winning education, the next part of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansha Dev in the Kalpataru segment, and under main segment, life of masters. So still I am trying to improve my reading. I am faltering too many places, sorry for that, and I will request you to extend your support to my channel the way you are supporting me. Whatever platform you are having, you are supporting me, please support me. Please subscribe if you are liking my effort. If you want to encourage me, then please share my endeavors, like it or comment it, so that I can understand how to rectify, how to proficiently, how to represent this efforts. And thank you for being with me. For some health issues, I am not able to publish this content in a normal timings. So again, thank you that you are still with me with all the ups and downs, and thank you for helping me out. And I wish a very good healthy life ahead for all of us. And I pray to God that we must seek the truth, and He must make us able to do that so that we can move forward in our journey. So we will meet again in the segment, tomorrow's segment. Those are Dhrubabani Shubhabani and Dhrubabani Shubhabani in Hindi and Bengali. So we will see you till tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.